Welcome back to An Entrepreneur's Journey. I'm going to give you my take on seed investments and how to allocate seed investments, how to grow a business, how to scale a business. And I'm going to give you a pictorial of my seed investment. I draw this picture all the time. It's my model for growing my business at Homescape LLC. And I'm going to show it to you guys. So let's start. What's a seed? That's a seed, right? So the analogy here is just like a fruit tree. That's where the seed investment analogy came from for startups. I'm going to show you how I believe this works. So it's very similar to a fruit tree. If you think of your business like a fruit tree, a lot of moves are going to inherently make sense. So you start with a seed, and what do? You put a seed into the ground, right? So instead of into the ground here, we put the seed into people. People are the ground, okay? You buy a seed, find a seed, or make a seed with time and money. Time and money. This is your producer. Okay? Time and money. Once you have that seed and you plant and you add time and money, which is also what I also like to call H2O, to keep the analogy, right? I like to call this H2O. So you got to add water to the seed. Adding water to the seed means adding time and money. Once you add water to the seed, after a year, you're going to get a little sprout. Now your seed is down here, right? And you got a little sprout. There's no leaves on it yet. If you ever grown an apple tree, I have, just really because I've been so obsessed with this model and business. And I saw over years that this model really is like a fruit tree. A business really is like a fruit tree. So I started planting them just to see, what it took. But after a year, you don't have anything. You can't eat it. You can't really do anything. But you might be able to sell it. Right? So there's a little bit of value here. I'm going to put this as $V. There's a little bit of value here that you've added because you've added all this H2O from here to here, right? Now as you move forward, in another year, now you're going to get a little leaf, right? And your tree is going to be a little bit taller. Sorry, I'm not an artist. So this is year 2. This is year 1. This is year 2. Most people say it takes about 3 years to start a business. I don't believe that. I believe that these can happen in quarters or months. It really depends on how much you work, how much water you have, how good your seed was. Did you buy the plant already started? But to keep with the analogy, I think it takes seasons, right? I want to put years on it because a business is not really a tree. It's a business. But around the 3rd year or the 3rd season, you actually have you start to grow a fruit tree. Now I'm going to make a couple marks here because in year 3, you're going to start seeing a tree. You're literally going to start seeing a tree. Now, does it grow fruit? Some people say 5 years, 3 to 5 years. And this is, again, very similar to a fruit tree, 3 to 5 years. So in that 3 to 5 year, what's going to start happening is you're going to start gaining fruit, or what we like to call in business, money. You planted the money tree, right? And again, this came from over here, you're watering H2O, which is time, money, and time. I'm going to draw a little clock for you guys there, right? Money and time, money and time, money and time, and eventually you have a growing tree. Now, I'm going to give you guys some of the pitfalls that I've run into and some of the things that I feel like have helped me become a success. Remember, you started here as a seed, so it takes time to grow your business. But what happens here is there's 2 things that can cause a hiccup in growing a sustainable business. A sustainable business, a business that will allow you to eat the fruit of your labor for years and years and years and years after you put in the hefty work at the beginning. So the first one is in these first 3 years. In these first 3 years, people are hungry. You need to eat, right? You need to eat. But there's no apples around. So what a lot of people are money, right? Because that's what these apple trees are. This is a money tree. I like to call it an apple tree. That's my fruit tree that I picked. You can pick your own. um, but what happens here in year 1 or year 2, they start getting cold. The winter comes around. The winter comes around, and they start thinking about either selling this tree for money, because they can find someone that understands it's going to get here. So they can either sell this tree for money, so now they have a little money to eat, or around here, between here and here, they might chop it down for firewood. Kind of the same thing as selling it for money. The point is you never get to the fruit-bearing stage of your business. Now, this may, selling your business in this part, you have to eat, guys. You have to eat. So it may be a necessity to do this. I'll show you guys how I didn't do it. I basically planted a lot of seeds, so I was able to sell a few of them. And if you look at my business models and all my online businesses and some of the other businesses I talk about, you'll understand that, oh, wow, this kid had seeds everywhere, right? But when you get to, so that's the first issue. The first issue is not having enough fruit, not having enough food to eat at the beginning stages. If you're too hungry, you're going to end up chopping down these trees or selling these trees for something else. So you're going to have to figure out a way to not be hungry, to get fed in that process. Some people do it through funding. Some people do it through another job. It's usually through money somewhere else, right? So now when you get to stage 3, I'm gonna give you a case study of my business as well as Amazon business, because I think Amazon, Jeff Bezos does this really well. So you bear fruit. Now what do you do with the fruit? Well, you can eat it all. You've been starving, right? But what is your eventual goal, right? So what I like to do, me personally, I like to grab 3 of these apples here, all right? And I call this is my food or my paycheck, okay? Remember, this is in seasons, so we don't know how long these 3 apples are gonna last. We know that we have to wait till next season to get more apples. So that's my food and paycheck. I might turn 1 apple or 2 apples into applesauce so I can live through the winter, right? Save that. I may spend one already. And I may buy my wife with something else, right? So that's 3. You got 4 apples left, right? 2 of these apples I like to sell. So I sell that to get more money, right? For one thing. These other 2 apples, I break open and I grab the seeds from those apples, which is money. Remember, the seed is time or money. Seed is time or money. So you grab these other 2 apples and you break open the seed. Now, here's a beautiful thing about this analogy, which works so true. At least I feel like it's worked for me, and I've seen it work for other big businesses, is that an apple has more than 1 seed, right? So when I grab 2 apples, and I've been obsessed with this, so I've opened up apples, and you know that on any given apple, on a low end, you'll get 1. But you might get 4, 5, 6 seeds. But let's say out of those 2 apples, we got 6 seeds. So we're back down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seeds. Okay? So I ate, I'm full. I grabbed some of those apples, I ate, I'm full. I sold some for capital, for money, to get me my water and my time, right? My time and my money, my water, to feed these seeds down here. Okay? And if you look, this is year 1, because if we can go back to the graph over here, and we can make this same exact graph for these 6 seeds. What does that mean? That means in 3 to 5 years, if you allocate it right, remember this seed tree now comes back every year. So you don't have to follow this exact schematic, but you can every single year, right? And what happens is after 3 to 5 years, right? To keep from our example, after 1 year, your seeds look like that. Remember, next year you're going to have more apples to get more water, time and money. So after the 2nd year, you start producing these little leaves on these trees. All right? So now you're in year 2 here. Remember how we were doing this? Or season 2, I should say. And then eventually, you have an apple farm, right? And these things start bearing fruit. Amazon is a great example of this. Amazon's initial seed, and this comes from focus with a lot of entrepreneurs. This helps. Amazon's initial seed was Amazon.com, obviously. But what people don't know is people like to see the end product. But Amazon.com was a bookstore, man. It was a bookstore. They started just selling books. And they grew that tree so big just from a bookstore. Because when it got to here, it was still a bookstore. It was still a bookstore, ladies and gentlemen. It was still a bookstore. Their biggest competitors were Barnes and Noble and Borders. Those were their biggest competitors, right? So by the time they got here, they did this. If you listen to Jeff Bezos, you'll hear him say a lot, oh, we have one lemonade stand, he calls it a lemonade stand, that makes money, and it allows us to open up a hamburger stand and a hot dog stand and this stand, right? But this is the same model. So when you think about a seed investment, I want you guys to really, take this to heart and start thinking of it like a tree. That's where the analogy came from, and it really does make a lot of sense. If you were a farmer and you only had one seed left, or if you had to use this model as a farmer, you'd understand you'd be good, you'd eat. As a matter of fact, you'd prosper if you didn't chop down the tree at the beginning and if you didn't eat all the apples when you did get it. So I hope this helped. That's my model for growing a seed investment. I've done this with .coms. I've done it with a variety of businesses. I love it with .coms because a .com you can really follow the model that some of the bigger guys have already established. So it's not reinventing the wheel. That's how I describe a seed investment. That's how I believe you can grow and scale your business sustainably and have a plantation of fruit and money trees to pick from. Hope this was helpful, guys. My name is Nicholas Coriano. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to the page if you like it. And comment underneath if you guys have any comments, suggestions, or anything to add on to this. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks again.